Dear guests, on the name of Heartfulness, I would like to address a warmly welcome to all of you to this regional meeting for Asia Pacific of 4P1000 initiative at Kana Shantivanam. I hope you all rest well yesterday and have been able to enjoy the unique atmosphere of this place already. Kana Shantivanam is first a place where people come from all over the globe to restore, to attend a large range of programs for better health and to meditate. When I came here for the very first time, it was in 2016, this landscape all around was a complete desert, semi-arid land, full of sun and sand. I can say my heart was this desert too. Then everything started here. I was first keeping coming to heal my heart and to grow spiritually. At the same time, the entire landscape was changing and the village came out from nowhere and become this green lush paradise. So I then keep coming for all the inspiration that this place was bringing to me. And 1 year ago, Dr. Paul Lu, Executive Secretary of the International 4P1000 Initiative, came with me to see by himself. And I can say he was quite impressed about what was happening here in terms of restoration, water management, afforestation, and all. He told me that Kana and its Forest by Heartfulness Restoration Ecosystem Program, in such a short period of time, deserve to be promoted internationally as a successful story according to the 4P1000 objectives. So here we are, 1 year after. No place to science, knowledge, experiences, and more. And before giving the floor to Dr. Paul Lu, I would like first to sincerely thank everyone who made this event happen. The 4P1000 team first, Beatrice, Claudia, Samuel, the many Heartfulness volunteers, and in particular, Mr. Sanjay Sigal here, Dr. Ramakanta, and his daughter, Dr. Ananya Rao. They will introduce more about Forest by Heartfulness later, and Elizabeth Dunley, and more. And of course, all of sponsors, without whom this conference would now have never taken place: Samunnati, Dr. Reddy Foundation, Foundation Farm, Biosphere, ICRISAT, and French Ministry of Agriculture. Welcome to all.
Thank you very much, Eva. Welcome to all of you, honorable ministers, dear distinguished guests. As Eva said, allow me first, because this is very important, to express my gratitude, our gratitude and our warmest thanks on behalf of Mr. Stéphane Le Foll, President of the 4P1000 Initiative, on behalf of the Vice President, Gabriel Bastien, and Ibrahim Mayaki, to the whole team, to Daji, of course, and to the whole team of Heartfulness, starting with Sanjay Sigal, Elizabeth, Eva, of course, and the volunteer, who have done us the pleasure and the honor to welcome us in the heart of your jewel of Kana Shantivanam for this Asia Pacific Regional Conference. Thank you so much for your hospitality and its beautiful setting. From an idea that Eva just said a few minutes ago, 1 year ago, you contribute together with the team of the Executive Secretariat, Beatrice, Claudia, Julia, Samuel, as Eva said, and Dr. J.K. Lada from the STC of the initiative, and Emel Jat from ICRISAT, to make a reality out of his dream. Dr. Mayaki, which is our vice president, up until the last moment, was hoping to be able to join us, but its role of special envoy for food system of the African Union, and above all, as former Prime Minister of Niger, I've taken up his time in the dual context of Niger national situation and preparation of COP28 in Dubai. This will lead me to chair the conference, if you accept me in this role, and of course, if you are ready to hear my French horrible accent for the 2 coming days. So we will start our conference by a high-level inaugural session. And I would like to invite on the stage our honorable speaker. So first, I will call Honorable Sakiasi Rayevesevu Ditoka, Minister of Rural Maritime Development and Disaster Management of Fiji. So please, sir, would you like to take a seat on the stairs? I would like also to invite Mr. Thierry Berthelot, Consul General of France in Bangalore. India, please. We'll let the seat in the middle for Naji later. And of course, I would like to invite Shri Singiredi Niranjan Reddy, Honorable Minister for Agriculture, Government of Telangana, Hyderabad, India. So please, sir. Yes, please. So I would like to inform of our honorable speakers that the program is very dense, as you have seen all. And so I would really appreciate it if you could respect the timing that we have, and of course can express all that you have to say, because you are here to give us your insight and your impression about all of this and the 4 per mil. Few words about the 4 per mil initiative. 4 per mil initiative was born in Paris. I will come back later on that, because I will have this afternoon the opportunity to present it. And the main idea about the 4 per mil initiative is to promote another way to make agriculture, what we call agroecology. You can call it whatever you want. Could be natural agriculture. And the idea is to use agriculture to store carbon in the soil, remove the carbon from the atmosphere, put it in the soil back where it is very useful, because in the atmosphere, carbon is not useful, it's just harmful. So without further ado, and having said that, I would like to give the floor to Honorable Minister from Fiji. You are the one who opened the ball.
Honorable State Minister for Agriculture, Mr. Paul Lu, Consul General of France in Bangalore, Excellencies, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. Mbolo Binaka, that's how we greet each other in Fiji, and extend warm greetings to you all from the friendly islands of Fiji. Today I stand before you with a deep sense of concern, but we have an unwavering commitment to address one of the most critical challenges of our time: the profound impact of climate change on our invaluable soil. The impact of climate change and the frequency of disasters weighs heavily on Fiji, given our unique geographical and socio-economic vulnerabilities. Our nation comprises over 300 islands and is home to a population of just under 1 million people. We have personally witnessed the real-world effects of global temperature rise, manifesting in rising sea levels that threaten our coastal communities, resulting in coastal erosion and saltwater intrusion. This dual threat jeopardizes both our land and freshwater resources. And it's important to note that 70% of our population resides within 5 kilometers of the coastline, making us particularly susceptible to disaster events. We've also witnessed a troubling increase in the frequency and intensity of cyclones. A comprehensive study conducted by the Asian Development Bank paints a stark picture for Fiji. It suggests that by 2100, the losses incurred due to climate change could amount to around 4% of our annual GDP. These losses, driven by rising temperatures and a surge in extreme weather events, pose a significant threat, especially to our agricultural sector and therefore the broader economy. Furthermore, the data and the real-time experiences we are witnessing indicate a heightened likelihood of more frequent droughts, floods, and temperature spikes in Fiji by 2070, with a potential temperature rise of 2 degrees centigrade from 1990 levels under a medium emission scenario. Additionally, there's a disturbing forecast of sea levels rising by as much by 1.41 meters by 2100. The consequences of these changing climate patterns are already apparent, with unprecedented rainfall intensity leading to localized flooding and subsequent soil erosion. This erosion not only washes away our precious topsoil, but also carries essential nutrients and pollutants into our water bodies, gravely impacting water quality and aquatic ecosystems. Fiji's culture and traditions are intricately linked to the land and sea, making these changes a direct threat to our way of life. The shifts in rainfall patterns and prolonged droughts have already resulted in water scarcity, affecting agriculture and the availability of clean drinking water. Our nation has a total landmass of approximately 18,274 square kilometers. Agriculture, a key contributor, constitutes about 8.1% of Fiji's GDP in 2021. Regrettably, the sector faces formidable challenges from climate change, such as shifts in temperature and precipitation patterns that adversely affect crop yields and food security. Rising temperatures expedite organic matter decomposition, depleting nutrients and soil fertility, while upcoming forecasts predict an El Nino season for the 2023-2024 cyclone season, heightening concerns about drought. In conclusion, the far-reaching and undeniable consequences of climate change threaten the stability of our environment, communities, and economies. However, one aspect of this crisis often overlooked is its intimate connection to our soil. Amidst these challenges, we find opportunities for resilience, adaptation, and mitigation. Sustainable soil management can serve as a powerful tool in our fight against climate change, and we are very thankful for what we are doing here. In light of this, the impact of climate change on our soil demands our immediate attention. The decisions we make today will shape the future of our soil and consequently our planet. Let us commit to innovative, sustainable, and comprehensive approaches to soil management, ensuring not only climate change mitigation, but also a healthier and more prosperous future for all. I extend my sincere gratitude to the event organizers for granting us the opportunity to witness firsthand the commendable efforts undertaken here at Kana Shantivanam. The lessons we've learned and their relevance to Fiji's culture is truly invaluable. Thank you all for your dedication to this critical cause. May our deliberations today translate into meaningful actions that safeguard the resilience and vitality of our soil and, by extension, our planet for generations to come. Thank you. Nahwaleu Dhanyavad.
Thank you very much, Minister, for this message. And we know that Fiji Island and the island in the Pacific are really vulnerable to the climate change. And you are in the middle of the storm, I would say, while the other one maybe sometime just looking at somewhere else. Thank you for your testimony. Now, it's my pleasure to call on stage and to have the floor Mr. Thierry Berthelot, Consul General of France in Bangalore. Mr. Consul Général, vous avez la parole.
Honorable Minister of the Telangana State, Honorable Minister of the Fiji Islands, dear Paul Lu, ladies and gentlemen, On behalf of France, I would like to express our gratitude to the public and private actors, thanks to whom this regional conference can be held in the Telangana state, Hyderabad. In particular, I would like to express our special thanks to the governments of India and of the government of Honorable KCR, Sir, Chief Minister of the Telangana state. As one of the largest agriculture countries, India and its states are highly aware of the importance of the soil health and play an important role in Asia in improving agricultural practices for healthier soils. With its position in Asia, India is playing a leading role in the vital movement for healthier soils. India research centers such as ICAR involved in international scientific cooperation, including the CGIAR centers present in the country. I would mention ICRISAT, IRRI, IYT are already very active in this area. Ladies and gentlemen, in April 2022 in Paris, during Sadhguru's European tour, France co-organized with the Indian Embassy in Paris, the ISHA Foundation, and the Indian Ambassador to UNESCO, an event to promote Save Soil campaign with a dialogue between spirituality and science around soil health. Ladies and gentlemen, France, we express our high appreciation for these efforts made by India at the regional level, as well as Indian stakeholders in favor of soils, carbon sequestration, and soil health to combat climate change and food insecurity. We would be more than happy to see India and Indian stakeholders to become full members of this initiative for 4,000, including scientific, economic, and civil society actors, as has already been done by BAIF, the Aisha Foundation, or even Samunnati. So, dear friends, today we suggest the participation of Indian partners and the Asia-Pacific region in the 4,000 Day on December the 5th and 6th during the next COP28 in Dubai. We are currently mobilizing our partners to ensure that we have a truly coherent calendar around the subjects of soil, agriculture, food, etc. through this next COP28 in Dubai. We emphasize that it is vital that the 4,000 initiative can receive support through their membership from the many countries in the Asia region. Currently, we have Cambodia, Japan, Philippines, and Vietnam, as well as in the Pacific region, and currently we have Australia and New Zealand. Today we are very happy to have with us Honorable Minister from the Fiji, which must be thanks for his presence at this conference. Thank you very much, Minister. Thanks we would like to thank Heartfulness Institute, in particular Daji, who, in agreement with Édition La Butineuse, printed for India and especially for the participants in this regional conference, the book published by the initiative Farmers Have the Earth in Their Hands. This work is available in English and Spanish and may even be translated into other languages. And this book is widely distributed internationally in the near future. This book has the most modest ambition, of providing the basic elements for understanding agriculture, its physical, chemical, and biological foundations, its history, and these necessary developments in the face of the challenges of climate change, the erosion of biodiversity, increasing desertification, and global food insecurity. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish you all a very fruitful conference. I'm sure that you will come out with new inputs, and France, we are looking forward to have you during the COP28 in Dubai. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Berthelot. It's true that we have also the pleasure to have Heartfulness Institute as a member of the FOPEMI. And this is due to this also very nice link that we can organize this conference today. We have a lot of friends in India, and we hope that we will have more after this conference, and even in the Pacific, Mr. Minister. So now it's my pleasure to give the floor to Sri Singiredi Niranjan Reddy, Honorable Minister for Agriculture, Government of Telangana, Hyderabad in India. Minister, the floor is you.
Honorable Sakasi Ditoka, Minister for Rural Maritime Development and Disaster Management of Fiji Islands, Dr. Paul Lulu, Executive Secretary of the International 4,000 Initiative, Honorable French Consul General, Mr. Thierry Bethot, and Revered Daji, Global Guide of Heartfulness, respected Sri Raghunandan Rao, Secretary Agriculture, Government of Telangana, various representatives from different countries and representatives from scientific community, researchers, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to all of you. If you have received my wishes, you can clap. And if you are committed to save the soil, you can once again. Thank you. Thank you. I stand before you today to discuss a topic that is often overlooked, but holds the key to our planet's health and future. That's soil conservation and regeneration. Soil, often referred to as the skin of the earth, is the foundation upon which our agriculture systems, ecosystems, and ultimately our survival depend. It is imperative that we understand the significance of soil health and work collectively to protect and regenerate it. In fact, the soil is nothing but unsung hero of our lives. First and foremost, let's acknowledge the incredible role that soil plays in our lives. Soil is not just dirt beneath our feet. It's a complex living ecosystem teeming with the microorganisms, insects, and roots. It's a reservoir of nutrients, a purifier of water, and a crucial carbon sink as well. Soil provides us with food, fiber, and even medicine. It sustains biodiversity and regulates climate. It truly is the unsung hero of our lives on earth. Now, we have to look at the alarming state of soil health. However, this hero is facing a grave crisis. Soil degradation is rampant across the globe. Erosion, salinization, compaction, and contamination are eroding the very foundation of agriculture systems. The statistics are alarming. 1/3 of the earth's soil is already degraded, and we lose an estimated 24 billion tons of fertile soil every year. This poses a severe threat to global food security and environmental stability. Thus, the consequences of soil degradation are far-reaching. Decreased soil fertility leads to reduced crop yields, that leads to food shortages and increased poverty in many regions. Soil erosion contributes to sedimentation in rivers and lakes, damaging aquatic ecosystems and infrastructure. Soil degradation also releases stored carbon into the atmosphere, exacerbating climate change. It's a vicious cycle that we must break. Now, our responsibility is to save the soil and to conserve it. So what can we do? It's our collective responsibility to protect and regenerate our soils. Here are some of the critical steps that we propose. Sustainable farming is one such practice for which we need to promote sustainable farming, such as crop rotation, cover cropping, and reduced tillage. These techniques enhance soil health, increase crop resilience, and reduce erosion. Soil testing and constant monitoring is essential, and for which we need to encourage farmers to conduct regular soil testing to determine nutrient levels. This information enables precise and sustainable fertigation practices. Restoration and agroforestry, in order to make it out, trees play a crucial role in maintaining soil health. Reforestation and agroforestry practices can improve soil structure. That prevents erosion and sequester carbon. Reducing pollution, in order to implement measures to reduce soil pollution from chemicals, heavy metals, and industrial waste. Sustainable waste management is essential. Education and awareness is the prime concern, shall be the prime concern. We need to educate farmers, policymakers as well, and the general public about the importance of soil conservation. Knowledge is a powerful tool for change. A hopeful future that we can assure. In conclusion, soil conservation and regeneration are not optional. They are essential for our survival. I am grateful to 4 per million initiative team that they have chosen Kanha Shanti Vanam in Telangana as a venue for this Asia Pacific conference, as there could not have been a better venue at state for teaching the world importance of our Mother Earth. Telangana and Kanha Shanti Vanam have shown to this world that soil regeneration need to just be limited to a talk, but action on the ground, which can bring life so many species of trees, birds, animals, and all other species in our ecosystem. Kudos to Daji for the wonderful work and also hosting this conference. I wish this conference a great success, and this will definitely throw a better light onto the issues that are concerned. Thank you one and all.
Thank you very much, Minister, for this insight of what you are doing also in India and in Telangana to preserve soil and restore soil health. We will go deeper in those ways to produce agriculture in the afternoon and also tomorrow, but we have to learn a lot from each other. So while we have a little bit of time, I would like to invite, if you allow me, Minister, your Secretary Agriculture Government of Telangana, Mr. Raghunandan Rao, to say a few words to this meeting. Please take the floor and give us a little bit more about agriculture in Telangana. Thank you.
Good morning to all of you. To all the dignitaries on the dais, our friends from all over the world, and many of us who are aware of the work that is happening in Telangana. I would like to use this opportunity to share with you what has happened in Telangana over the last few years, especially in the agriculture space, and why Telangana is the right candidate to host a conference like this, but also to do the work that needs to be done to protect the soil and Mother Earth. I think our Honorable Minister has already captured, all the dignitaries on the dais have already captured the importance, the inevitability of our making investments in better soil for a better earth. I think the challenges are immense, but our opportunities are also there. And I think Telangana provides the right example for that. Telangana, as you know, is the youngest state of the Indian Union. It was formed only in 2014. So we are about 9.5 years old. But over these 9.5 years, Telangana has brought about a remarkable transformation in its food production systems. One of the fundamental bases for the separate state of Telangana was that agriculture in the undivided state was neglected. And if you neglect agriculture, then all other sectors of the economy tend to suffer too. And therefore, agriculture, especially irrigation, has occupied the mind and heart of the people of Telangana and of the government of Telangana. Over the last 9 years, we have made tremendous investments in agriculture and irrigation. The world's largest multi-stage lift irrigation project, Kaleshwaram, was conceived and completed in a short span of 4 years in Telangana. We are now on the process of completing another major lift irrigation project, the Palamur Rangareddy project too. Telangana, as you know, is in the Deccan Plateau region. We have about 10,000 villages. But as a legacy of the Kakatiyas, who ruled this part of the world in 12th, 13th, 14th century AD, we have more than 40,000 village tanks. So we have about 11,000 villages and 40,000 village tanks. In the first 3 years after Telangana was carved out as a separate state, more than 27,000 of these village tanks have been renovated. So we have taken a massive program for harvesting water, soil conservation, so that these tanks will function as a life support system for the rural agriculture and food security systems. Now, these tanks, even in the peak summer in April, May, they are full of water because we have taken care to ensure that lot of water which was flowing into the rivers, flowing away in the rivers to the ocean, has been brought into the hinterland through our lift irrigation project, which I mentioned about. So, as a consequence of all this, what has happened is the area under cultivation has increased tremendously. When Telangana was formed, we used to irrigate, have a gross cropped area of about 1.2 crore acres. Today, we have more than 2.4 crore acres. We have more than doubled the gross cropped area. Now, why this is significant is it takes care of our rural livelihoods. Livelihood, as you are aware, more than 60% of the rural population depends on agriculture, even in Telangana, and these investments in irrigation and agriculture have led to that. Because of these investments, we have also ensured that our production of grains, fruits, vegetables, spices, and oil seeds has increased from about 150 lakh metric tons in a year to over 350 lakh metric tons in a year. Now, all this has happened not because by depleting the groundwater. If you look at the statistics in Telangana, you will notice that our agriculture has grown, our paddy cultivation has grown, but the groundwater has not depleted. In fact, the groundwater levels in Telangana have gone up by more than 3 to 7 meters in different parts of the state. We have also invested on increasing our green cover. The Forest Survey of India, which is an authoritative measure of what is the green cover in a particular state, has recently released a report which says that Telangana's green cover has increased by over 7.7%. Now, this effort has not happened only because of government initiatives, but because government has worked with local communities, local bodies, local governments, and with the people at large to make these kind of changes. So today, Telangana is the largest producer of paddy in the country. We are an inland state. We don't have much water resources, but we have harnessed whatever water resources we have, and we are able to ensure that we produce a lot of paddy which our country needs. Now, it is not as if we have made these changes only in the agricultural space or in the crop production space. Telangana is also the largest producer of inland fisheries in the country. Because of the tanks that we have and the reservoirs that we have constructed because of our irrigation systems, our inland fisheries have increased tremendously. So it is adding nutrition into our food chain. We have also ensured that farmers who depend on milch animal get incentivized, and therefore the milk production in the state has also increased. The other significant investment that we have made is there are occupational groups in Telangana who depend on sheep rearing. Okay, as a systematic policy, we have ensured that the ecosystem that supports sheep rearing is supported, and families have been encouraged with some cost sharing schemes with the state government to get more and more sheep into our state. And therefore, today Telangana is among the largest producers of meat also in the country. So as a policy, we have ensured that the food systems in the state, be it food grains, okay, poultry, fisheries, we are also making large investments in oil seeds. We are ensuring that these kind of systems which support a large number of our rural population are taken care of so that livelihoods are protected. And I think the challenge which will come from third world countries when we talk about soil and protection of soil is how would you ensure that there is a proper win-win situation for protecting livelihoods while we are protecting the environment. And I think the 4 for 1,000 initiative will give us the ways forward. So I would like to thank all of you for giving me this opportunity, and hope over the next 3 days you will also find solutions for ensuring that the rural livelihoods in the third world countries, while they are protected, we ensure that the future of soil and the future of Mother Earth are retained. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this word, and also this presentation about what you are doing in Telangana. And we can consider hearing from you that you are on the good way. This is very important because soil is our future. Without soil, our next generation and generation coming will not be able to find a way to produce their food. But not only that, having forest, having biodiversity, having a bearable climate, I would say, and avoid desertification of the land. So this is very important, and thank you very much for those words. As it was said by the Secretary of Agriculture, the work is also done at the level of the community. And we know that it's important to have roots in the ground and working with the community, villages, region, province, states, and of course, country, which is important for the political will and the impulsion that you give to the people. So we will have, for those who wish to join the initiative as an organization, of course, it cannot be done as an individual. So please do not hesitate. Minister, if Telangana want to join the initiative, states are also, or province in France or region, we will have a document that could allow you to be part of the 4 per meal initiative. It's a very simple document, just 1 page to fill, a signature, and then we will provide this application to the Bureau and to the consortium of the member. Well, there is no compulsory financial implication. It means that you can join us free of charge, of course. The idea is just sharing the objective to make our soil better for the future and be sure that our children will be able to continue to live on this planet. As I used to say, most of the people said, oh, we have to save the environment, we have to save the planet. I'll always say, okay, the planet will be alone. Without men on the planet, there will be no problem at all. So we don't need to save the planet. We just need to save humanity on Earth, which is quite different. So I hope that this message will go through and that we will be able to work together. And I count on you for those 2 days to be able to define a regional roadmap for Asia and the Pacific that we can provide to our chief of state, head of state and government to help them finding the right way to save our soils and preserve our soil health. Okay, so it means that Daji is on his way, but not yet arrived. Okay, so we will continue our program. And so I will call on the floor, Mrs. Sorry for that. I don't know your name by heart. I'm very sorry for that. Mrs. Ingeborg Bayer, Counselor Food and Agriculture of the Embassy of Federal Republic of Germany in India. Madam, you have the floor.
So I hope you see me behind the flowers. Yes. Thank you very much, honorable ministers and honorable guests, that I have the opportunity to speak today to you. I'm very happy to be here today following the invitation of International 4 per Mill initiative, which German government has supported since its very early days, after its launch at Paris Climate Conference in 2015. It is great to see how much has happened since then, as during the last years, the issue of soil health has risen on the global agenda, and it's being addressed in numerous ways at all scales by now. And for a good reason. Healthy soils are the basis of food production, of healthy food, of course, and they store 4 times as much carbon as above ground vegetation, and they are a central hotspot for biodiversity. Some decades ago, somebody told me to create 1 centimeter of humus on the soil that needs 100 years. And I was shocked and I could not believe, because this is a very, very urgent point. And I thought perhaps it needs 3 years or something like that. So to imagine this makes sure that we have to care for our soils. Improving and restoring soil health and increasing and conserving the soil organic carbon levels in agricultural managed land is a central lever to reaching the climate goals as set in the Paris Agreement. At the same time, it will help us become more resilient towards the impacts of climate change, and it will ensure that we can feed a growing population even in the years to come. Just a few weeks ago, European Commission has introduced a soil monitoring law, which sets the goal of having healthy soil throughout the European Union by 2050. Besides the establishment of a coherent soil monitoring framework, the directive introduces criteria for sustainable soil management and the treatment of contaminated sites, while allowing member states to consider cultural and natural conditions when translating the directive into national law. In Germany, we put a special emphasis on the extension of areas under organic agriculture to 30% of the land under cultivation, and we committed to the goal to drastically reduce soil sealing. Furthermore, our government introduced the Federal Humus Program, which allows conventional as well as organic farmers to establish and demonstrate locally adapted practices to build up humus on their farms in close collaboration with scientists. Worldwide, farmers and producers, indigenous peoples, as well as scientists have gathered a lot of knowledge on sustainable soil management, and there are many traditional as well as innovative approaches out there how to restore and foster soil health. Even in India, Germany is somehow active with our organization GIZAT, who has a lot of projects in India, and some of them also care about soil health. They have an initiative in Maharashtra. It's called Rural Nutrient and Carbon Cycle. And there is also another activity around biosources management to convert woody biomass to biochar and terra preta, thus sequestering carbon in the soils. Another initiative also in Maharashtra is called MAVIM. It's a federation of self-help groups under the government of Maharashtra. And ProSoil, as somebody of you may know, ProSoil is setting up integrated bioresources-based business. So, for example, they collect cow dung from decentralized cattle, or they generate biogas from that, or they use the urine from cattle waste as a soil fertilizer, things like that. So meetings like this provide a great opportunity to share all this knowledge we collected around the world and commonly develop a vision how to move forward. During the next 3 days, actors from all stakeholder groups and from different parts of Asia-Pacific region will meet to showcase their innovative approaches, but also, and this is central, to exchange on what each stakeholder group needs from the others. What kind of scientific knowledge is lacking to prove certain concepts? How can policymakers improve the enabling conditions for people in the field as well as the research centers? Which new approaches are out there which could be inspiring to the others, and how can civil society best be engaged? I'm convinced that the coming days will give a lot of food for our minds, for our thoughts, showcase some hands-on action and stimulate cooperation across borders and beyond stakeholder groups. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Bayer, for this word. And this is now my honor to welcome what we all know as Daji, but it's Honorable Kamil Patel. So Daji is the president of Shriram Chandra Mission and the International Heartfulness Guide. He has pioneered many social and environmental initiatives, including helping all people to manage their health and well-being through simple practices and meditation and lifestyle change, and also environmental changes and regenerative practices. These practices are regenerating water, soil, air, ecosystems, and biodiversity. That is why we are in Ghana today. Ghana is a model village to spearhead this initiative so they can be shared with people around the world. We hope that many more of us will join this vision. And thank you very much to be with us. It's an honor, Daji.
Good morning, everyone. My hearty salutations, especially to Mr. Thierry Benhart, Consulate General of France, Dr. Paul Lou, Executive Secretary of International per Mill Initiative, our chief guest, Shri Niranjan Reddy Garu, our Honorable Minister for Agriculture, State Government of Telangana, Shri Raghunandan Rao Garu, Honorable Secretary of Agriculture, Government of Telangana, Honorable Satyahasi Raisahu Titoka, Minister of Rural, Maritime Development and Disaster Management, Fiji Islands. We are privileged to have such a program amidst us at Kana Santivanam. Many of you may be aware of this land, under which condition it has bloomed like this today. And we like to share our experiences by actually inviting people from all over the world and say, yes, you can convert a barren land into a living ecosystem. Many experiments, they continue to grow. Fortunately, the state of Telangana is bestowed with the leadership of Chief Minister like Sri KCR Garu or Sri Minister Sri Niranjan Garu and their administrative staff. They have made Telangana the greenest, rather the fastly greening state of India. It's number one. See. This initiative began, I may not know the full story of it or the history, but every village has a nursery supported by the government, and this nursery is maintained by the village people as well as the government. I like to add to all these things that just don't grow trees. We need to do much more than that. Create the environment, number one, that is our priority. Second thing, it should entice people to grow more trees. Why should I grow? Because lay person, common person doesn't think much about the environment. They would like to cut the branch of a tree and feed their cattle. That's their need. They don't have gas. They like to burn the wood. They'll cut the branch and cook food. So the initiative has to be taken for cattle that create special environment so they can graze also provide some level of fuel. How to combat all these things? Okay. Third thing, make it such an enticing agroforestry, enticing, that it can change the economics of a village. It can bring them together. They can work together and bring some level of peace also. How to achieve it? Yesterday, I had the opportunity of discussing this with our ministers from Fiji and Sri Lu. We're talking of one example only, okay, sandalwood, wherever possible. Likewise, just depending upon the countries, you can choose various trees that can somehow improve the quality of life by improving the financial strength of the villagers. We calculated that per acre, when you plant 300 trees of sandalwood, it can fetch you 15 crores in 15 years. That means 1 crore per year per acre. We're talking of 1 acre only. When you talk of 10,000 acres, you're talking of billions of dollars. Just 10,000 acres. You calculate with your pen. Use your calculators. In 1 acre, you can grow 300 trees. In 15 years, you get per tree 5 lakhs. So 5 lakhs times 300 is 15 crores. That's only for 1 acre. Keep on adding zeros as you add the numbers of acres. Only problem with sandalwood is the theft. People cut it. So villagers who have planted all these things, they can come together and protect it. United, they can protect it. Companies like ours, I call it companies, not as a corporate company. I mean, people who come together and form a company, association, like-minded people. We can also help them plant. We can give them saplings. We can give them support for 3 years, 4 years as needed. Likewise, there are many medicinal plants. We can discuss in details. We'll prepare a report of all this and share with you that what all can be grown. If you like, because many people are here from different countries, we can study the environment and based on the country, recommend what sort of medicinal plants can be cultivated. That can increase the environmental impact as well as encourage the common person to grow all this besides what they're growing already. Millions of hectares of land in state of Uttarakhand in India is waste. Millions of hectares. I have fortunately a summer house near Nainital. And in front of our house, there is a mound at a 6,000 height, 6,000 feet height. And there on the mound, very naturally grows thyme. And you are all aware of what thyme is. Entire mountain full of thyme. 20 grams on Amazon is being sold at 110 rupees. Imagine what can be achieved if this knowledge can be shared with all the villagers. My main point of talking today is sharing how to not only grow trees, but also pay attention to the marine life. Yesterday, we briefly touched upon how seaweeds can change the program that all governments are running in sequestering the carbon. Seaweeds have the greater capacity than any tree or a plant on the land. Some species of seaweeds are 5 times more potent. Some are 10 times more potent in sequestering carbon. So I highly recommend, especially countries surrounded by seas, and especially when we talk of Pacific Islands, I mean, they're so lucky to have seas all around. They can take the advantage of cultivating seaweed. Many, depending upon the kind of seaweed that you cultivate, you can have pharmaceutical benefit. For example, I just give you one example. There are many like that, but one example is, those capsules we have. Capsules are made of gelatin, but you can switch it from bone-derived gelatin to vegan gelatin. Okay. Second, cosmetics. Third, it can be used for medicinal purposes depending upon the species that we are cultivating. One of the most potent antioxidants that are being derived today are xanthin compounds from these seaweeds. And xanthin compounds are 10,000 to 50,000 times more potent in their antioxidant activities compared to mere vitamin C. So it has a great offering. Fourth thing I like to share is, as erosion happens millions of years on this planet because of rains, many factors, even the wind, but what we are talking is mainly is rain erosion. Ultimately, all the nutrients, minerals, they end up in the ocean. The dissolved remains on the top because of the warmer temperature of the water. Mostly dissolved minerals and vitamins, they remain on top of the surface. That's where we grow this seaweed. It absorbs it, we can harvest it and throw it back on the planet again. That's why seaweed finds its great importance now in fertilizers also, because they have the highest capacity of absorbing potassium as well as the phosphates. And these both are non-renewable products, and not many countries have the luxury of having potassium mines and phosphate mines. I'm told, I have learned that 60 to 70% of potassium is from Morocco. But every country is surrounded by potassium and phosphate, and many minerals that we are not even aware of is hidden in these oceans. Let's harvest it, because it will serve us multiple things. Economic, when you talk of economy of a country, it will change. Second thing, it will change the quality of the environment because it sequesters the highest amount of carbon. Third thing, you can do so many things from the seaweeds. I did not mention one great thing that's happening in South Korea. Because of seaweeds, they are substituting beef with seaweeds. Instead of using beef in the burgers, they use seaweed burgers. Likewise, they have seaweed chips. So it can also provide a lot of nutrition depending upon what you select. I end my submission to you all that let's share all this. Carbon thing, which Madam already talked about, charcoal, biocharcoal. We already are doing this in a big way here. It is, I think if you see one of the biggest success in cultivating these trees and plants here is because of this biocharcoal. And since you all are here, you can visit our site where how we make charcoal, how we use charcoal, how we saturate the charcoal with various fertilizers, as well as saturate them with bio-ecosystem. We use bacteria, we use beneficial fungi also, and saturate these in the little houses of charcoal and throw it into the farms. Thank you for your listening, and very happy that you chose Kanha Santivanam in Telangana. and very thankful to the government of Telangana also for supporting us. And also thanks to Dr. Paul Lu for selecting this ashram. Most of the events are here mainly for spirituality. But spirituality and our health of the planet, they go together. Where will be spirituality without earth? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daji, for those words and for your advice. Thank you.
Thank you, Daji, for your insights and your words of wisdom for all of us. It is a privilege for all of us here at the 4 per 1000 Asia Pacific Regional Conference. We now request Revered Daji to please release the book which is being launched today. Farmers Have the Earth in Their Hands by Dr. Paul Lu. I also request Dr. Paul to please release the book along with Revered Daji. I now invite Dr. Paul Lu to please come to the dais and share something about this book with all of us.
Thank you very much. Well, the idea of this book came during the COVID. We were all locked down at home and thinking about what could be useful. Not because I was not working, sorry, I was working. But we had more time, no transportation, no leisure, else to be at home. So we thought that maybe it could be good to put in a book a little bit of what the message that we try to provide to the world people. Very simply and very modestly. This book is made for the people who would like to know a little bit more about agriculture. All our media are full of carbon, climate change, agriculture. We can't all save the world. Okay, we can all save the world. But people in the street ignore what is the relation between carbon, between climate change, between soil, and between agriculture. So in this book, we just modestly try to, as we said in French, put back the church in the middle of the village. Sorry, it's in French. That means just bring back the knowledge about what is agriculture. This is biology. This is first of all biology, but this is also physics and chemistry. So we talking about that natural cycle and a little bit of history also. It's good that people can always say industrial agriculture is very bad. Okay, industrial agriculture, we know that today it's bad, but by the past, it was good because it allowed people to be fed on this planet. And then we find out that there are also some externality, bad externality, so that we need to combat and to change. So that is why we need a little bit of history. That's all of this, part of this book is also that. And then what are the solutions? What can we change? How agriculture can be really the part of the solution to combat climate change instead of being part of the problem. Because if we are not changing agriculture in the future, in 2050, agriculture will represent 50% of the global greenhouse gas emission. So it's important to change our practice. That's what we call agroecology as a whole. But a lot of people are talking about agroecology, and it's very complex. So we try to find the right words to explain what it is. And for instance, explaining that organic agriculture is part of the agroecology, agroforestry is part of the agroecology, conservation agriculture is always also part. So modestly also, the ones who are doing this work to store carbon in the soil forests are farmers. So that is why we choose that title, farmers have the earth, the planet in their hand. Well, they have earth and soil in most of the time in their hand, but now they have the planet. And so instead of, as we are doing sometime in Occident, to bash agriculture and to always complain about agriculture, say farmers are the ones who are poisoning the planet, but they're also the ones who feed the people. The people forget about that. We need to help them, to help us finding a better way for the planet in the future. So that's the whole purpose of this book, and I hope you will enjoy it as I enjoyed to write it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Paul, for sharing this valuable information about the book. This book is available throughout the conference for any of you who would like to take a copy of this book. We at Heartfulness Institute are very grateful and honored to host this conference here at Kanha Shantivanam. It is our privilege to have our respected dignitaries with us today at the inaugural session. I now request Revered Daji to please present a small token of appreciation from our side to our respected dignitaries. We request our special guests and dignitaries who are present here for the inaugural session to please move to the dais for a photo op with Revered Daji.
Let's continue, the people will come back. So we have now the pleasure to have online, on Zoom, Kun Chayadit Utavutara, advisory of the Ministry of Interior in Thailand. Can you hear me?
Thank you very much, and ladies and gentlemen, and all the soil lovers. So thank you for inviting me to join, and it's a very honor. Sorry, I could not be present myself, and but I've been together in your event since early in the morning. So it's very, very interesting, and I think I myself representing Thailand. I think it's just a quick overview that we are the land of 150 million acres. And 1/3 of the land is, agricultural land, and 1/3 is the forest land. Okay, we have about 68 million people, and more than 60% of our population are farmers. So the farming is very, very important for Thailand. And again, soil, is the house for the farm and the forest. So these are the key points. And but because of the climate changing, basically a lot of situation are not like the old days. The way that we farming, the rain doesn't come the way they was. The heat and the weather getting hotter and hotter. So, and most important key is that basically we are agriculture country, but it's a very chemical driven. So I think we have organic less than 10% of the whole country. I don't even less than that. So the pollution from the heavy chemical agriculture becomes so polluted to the soil, and the soil become basically destroyed and getting harder and worse because of the heavy chemical farming and agricultures. Okay, so basically, as the government, what we are trying to do is we're promoting the new way of basically the agriculture project. Okay, and and most important key is the de-urbanization. We believe that to solve the problem about the poverty, inequality, and environmental situation, we got to de-urbanize, localization. It means we bring the young people into upcountry. But when we bring them to upcountry, instead of for them to concentrate in Bangkok, which is the capital of the city, basically it's creating a lot of problem inside here. But when we bring them out into the upcountry, there's nothing much for them to do. So the farm and the agriculture become very important key of the subject. But how do we develop the farm to become an interesting for the younger people, for not the older people? Because at the situation, only the old people stay at home and do the farm, and all the young men, they come to town. Okay, so the project was creating it very solidly, called the Sufficient Economic Development Zone. Okay, so basically, government are promoting throughout the whole country to basically take the land, split into the smaller area, and basically give it back to the farmers. At the same time, that not only give the land, but we do a lot of supporting, and and that part, education become important key. Education in the old day, basically the young people come to the campus, spend 4 years in the campus. Most likely, more than 90% of them never go back to their farmland. They will stay in the city and do something else. So the education are changing as we talk into the triple O. It means the online, offline, and on-the-job training. So the triple O become the new way of educated people for the new way of farming. So this is one a very important part. The second part is the double harvesting, basically where we have we're harvesting the sun as a solar rooftop on the greenhouse, and then we're harvesting the land and the soil as the farming. So that also become very important part. And number 3 is the dual job, because of at the moment in our places here, the people don't need to go to work every day. You know, after the COVID, people learn how to work from anywhere. So working from home become very significant. So it means that you can work from home in your farmland if you do architect, you do accounting, you do IT, but at the same time that you can also look after your own farm. So that part becomes a very, very big issue of the government movement of promoting the dual job. Okay, so the office space getting smaller, people start working from home. 5 + 2 become 2 + 5. It's when you work 5 days and you have the weekend on Saturday and Sunday. Now you work 2 days that you need to come to the office, and the rest you can work from home. So this also the transformation of the things. The organic smart farming on greenhouse become very important key, because then it's lower the risk of the agriculture, which is the highest risk in the industry. But after you put the agriculture into the greenhouse situation and you put the smart farming inside there, and you can promote the organic farming, and you can calculate basically a very clear income for the farmer, because of you can protect too much heavy rain, weather, the moisture inside, and all these things, and including insect. So the greenhouse smart farming become very important key, and also integrated, you know, midstream and downstream. So basically, it's a fair trade situation, and that is what we are promoting at the moment. And the last part is also we try to make the farm to become the easy farming. Doesn't mean that, you know, the old way of doing the farming is very difficult and it's very hard. It's hot like hell. So basically, the young people doesn't want to do it. So we make the farm to become a fun farm. It's enjoyable. It doesn't need to be big size, but it's a precision farming. So that is the way that Thailand are moving at the moment. So basically, so we are transforming the way we farm our country. And but when we transform the farming situation, agriculture, the first thing what we need to do, we have to transform the mindset and the heart set of the people, the way that they have to believe organic is a new way of life, and organic can happening. Doesn't need to become basically, when you do organic, you start putting the microorganism into the soil. You make the soil to become a living soil instead of dead soil, where you're putting all the NPK by the fertilizer into the soil. You can put NPK that creating by the organic into the soil, and the soil getting healthier and healthier and more living. So I believe as the world moving forward, food safety and food security become very important, but should be based on the health of the soil. So I think the living soil, by using the bio base of the agriculture, become very important. Lower the risk for the farmer, make it more fun, and make it for the young people, and make sure they can get a good income as much as they're working in the bank in Bangkok. So I think that is an element that we are working on. So this is what I just want to share some more part. We really like to hear about the event that is basically working on protecting the soil, and we should making the earth soil to become a living soil. So I hope it's a small talk from Bangkok side here, and I hope it's a small contribution for the event. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It was very inspiring, and it's a good example of what we can do in the country. And you were really right in your last figure about the food should need to come from a living soil and a healthy soil. Thank you very much. So it's my pleasure now to have a video from Mr. Takayuki Ajiwara from FAO. He is a representative of FAO in India. So, and as he could not come today, he addressed us a message through a video. So,
honorable guests, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, allow me to begin by expressing my gratitude to the organizer for arranging this event, which addresses a topic of great importance to the Food and Agriculture Organization of United Nations, FAO. The important role played by the healthy soil in the global health cycle was lately recognized in the One Health Joint Plan of Action 2022-2026 by FAO, the United Nations Environmental Program, the World Health Organization, and the World Organization for Animal Health, that condemns every form of soil degradation and promotes health systematically. This recognition highlights the interconnectedness of environmental health, human health, animal and plant health, and how soil health is a fundamental component of this complex web. In the Asia-Pacific region, soil health is of paramount importance as agriculture serves as the backbone of the livelihood of millions of people, and 22 data shows that half of the people facing moderate or severe food insecurity in the world are from the region. This is an urgent need for continued effort to preserve and enhance soil health in Asia while transforming and building the resilience of agri-food system for sustainable production and healthy diets. FAO has undertaken numerous concrete actions over the years to promote sustainable soil management and preserve, enhance, or restore soil health. FAO's effort on topic align with its broader missions to achieve food security, reduce poverty, and promote sustainable agriculture. In addition to hosting the Global Soil Partnership, FAO has reached a tailored strategy on soil and land. Asian soil has 248 petagrams of carbon stored in their upper 30 centimeters, and they have potentials to sequester additional 180 megatons of carbon every year if high carbon input sustainable soil management practices are adopted. This was well shown in the recent released Soil Atlas of Asia. Sustainable management of black soil is a special concern to FAO because of their large presence in the region, their impact on global carbon fluxes, and because their propensity to serve degradation can easily turn them into potential large sources of greenhouse gases. FAO's regional strategy and a number of projects are on the reduction of greenhouse gases emissions, climate change adaptation and mitigation, as well as on soil assessment, monitoring, and mapping. FAO is also working on preventing soil organic carbon losses and increasing soil carbon stocks that provides incentives to the farmers who agrees to implement good practices. Honorable guests, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, FAO strategic framework allows us to work with the member nations to help in these ways through our joint efforts to achieve better production, better nutrition, a better environment, and a better life for all, leaving no one behind. Let me end these remarks by assuring our commitment and availability to collaborate on this vital topic. Let us join the forces for sustainable future. Thank you for your attention. I wish you a fruitful discussion.
Thank you very much. We are working a lot with FAO, with Global Soil Partnership, and it's very important because they have a global mandate and it's important for us to have them on board. So it's my pleasure now, and I don't think we'll have more technical problem because now all the other speakers are in the room. So it's my honor to call Dr. Shailendra Kumar, Deputy Global Research Program Director, Enabling System Transformation at ICRISAT. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you very much for having me here. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Since this morning, a number of honorable speakers have really spoken a lot about soil health and importance and what we need to do. And soil health, as everyone spoke, is the foundation of present and future food systems, and without which man or life cannot survive. But this foundation, as everyone says, is really shaking at present, and more so because of the climate change, climate variability happening and coming up every year. Different phase of climate variability and change is happening, and which is also impacting and shaking this whole. In fact, the food security has always been one of the key, the first priority of every country. And in pursuit of this food security objectives, I would say that the policies have favored the chemical-based agriculture, promoting chemical. And in that process, even without any intention, it has disincentivized the organics application into agriculture, which has impacted the soil health. So this is one of the reasons. So I'll just highlight some points. The organic supported soil health interventions also, and also with the low chemical, takes more time, maybe 3 to 4 years to really show outputs, and in terms of productivity and economics. And that's also one of the regions where farmers need to be supported. But if I talk about India, the number of tenant farmers are increasing every year. And these tenant farmers are going to be much more in proportion in future. But then tenant farmers are leasing in the land for maybe 1 year or 2 years. They are not really committed to make investment on soil health per se, because it's a long-term investment. So this is another issue, key policy issue need to be addressed. And for this to do, because future agriculture is going to be this tenancy-based agriculture a lot. So there is a need to not only the digitalization of all land records, which governments in India are really working in a big way, but also tenancy reforms, where farmers can safely lease out their land for long term. So these will be very important if we really want to make investment in soil health. Another point, I think some of the speakers spoke, the biggest incentives for promoting the carbon-friendly agricultural practices would be to quantify and monetize, I will underline, the ecosystem services coming out from the carbon-friendly agricultural practices. Hasn't happened yet much in agriculture space. In forestry and others has happened, but not in agriculture. So currently, number of institutions and stakeholders, including ICRISAT, are working to standardize the MRVs, the monitoring, verification, and reporting protocols, and also the valuation of ecosystem services. When we have these and institutionalize these, I think then it will help to really to incentivize farmers, to create mechanisms. So that will be very important going forward. So currently what I see, because when you increase the soil carbon, how do you incentivize farmers? So monitoring and assessment and then incentivizing become very, very difficult and complex. So currently what we see, the best way forward is to work with the communities or village clusters at landscape scale and devise incentives for promoting carbon-friendly agricultural practices. So that could be, again, the policy and institutional dimension and the research dimension both. But in the long run, there is a need to create a mechanism to incentivize the individual farmers, those who are promoting or using a carbon-friendly or sustainable practices. As on today, it is really, really very difficult. If some farmers is doing at field, how do you incentivize that from the government policy? It is not happening. Then another point is that, because as I said in the beginning, that food policy, our policy was to achieve the food security objective. We promoted chemicals and fertilizer. In that process, we have very well developed supply chains and value chains for all these chemical-based fertilizers. But the supply chains and value chains for the organic related are very weak. There are not only in few pockets some business models, but business models are not really existing. So that's another very important point, another very important area to be focused. But in all, if you see for last, I'm talking about India, for example, or also in many countries, the investment on research on this side, how do you harness the value of organics and microbes, has not been really very high, very little investment. So if a greater investment is needed to make in this area, so new innovations can come and then can really compete and can create alternative interventions and approaches for promoting climate. And finally, I would say that I just wanted to say one example. ICRISAT has been promoting a very, very small innovation. A lot of biomass is really not being used for, again, to recycle back into soil. But for example, water hyacinth. So we have done that in hundreds of sites in Orissa and other states, as an economic business model to really plow back and recycle that water hyacinth in thousands and thousands of those ponds which are made useless because of water hyacinth. Just one example. So the point I wanted to make, that making more investment on those kind of research which can create those innovations. And finally, I would say that there is really need to build awareness among all the stakeholders, including consumers and all policymakers, researchers, development actors, all of them. So I think then there will be pressure from the stakeholder side to really move to that side. And this is what I wanted to share today. And thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your word. And I think there are some messages that could be already taken to the roadmap addressed to where place of the consumer is very important, how we can inform the consumer the way we are producing food. Thank you very much. So now it's my pleasure to call, okay, great, Mr. Shamik Trehan. So please, you have the floor.
Thank you. And I think all the speakers before me have spoken on the importance of soil health. And we at the foundation, Dr. Reddy's Foundation, are committed to this approach of ensuring soil health, because it's an approach which combines the ecology of science of ecology and the restoration of soil health by emphasizing how we can merge know-how of farming with the science of ecology. As we all know that in India, small and marginal farmers are the backbone of our agriculture system. Yet they face tremendous hardships. Especially small and marginal farmers today are facing hardships related to the degradation and deterioration of soil health, climate change, and also in terms of the income pressure that they have because of their small land holdings, how to sustain their families. The average income of a small and marginal farmer in the country in poor states of UP and Bihar range from around 7,000 to 8,000 a month, which is roughly like $100 to per capita income of around 1,000 in a year, which is very low incomes for small and marginal farmers. So while we discuss the approaches of adopting evidence-based soil health practices, I think it will be key to keep small and marginal farmers at the center of this entire discussion and debate we are having. Also, as we work, I think this is a great platform where we have been able to bring researchers, policymakers, experts, and also practitioners. So how can we all work together to identify approaches, to identify kind of focus areas which will further strengthen our efforts to scale up evidence-based soil health practices across the country? Because the challenge in India, because unlike other countries, we have a challenge of scale also, where we are talking of at least 100 million small and marginal farmers. It's a huge number. We at the foundation, in a small way, are committed to scale up soil health practices under our regenerative agriculture program to at least 1 million acres, or kind of covering 500,000 small and marginal farmers. But we know that's a small number compared to the challenges we are facing as a country or as a community. So I think initiatives like this can spur a kind of collaboration among various partners, and how we can come together to identify areas which the speaker before me talked about business models. I think that's one area how we can engage farmers. How can we look at win-win solutions where we can incentivize farmers to shift from their current practices, whether it's related to water conservation, whether it's related to soil restoration of soil health, or overall biodiversity enhancement. So how can we create interventions downstream, and how we can take evidence-based interventions that are being created by research institutions, but ultimately get them adopted at the field level. So this is one of the challenges, and this is where a foundation like ours kind of come and play a role. In addition to it, we are also very keen to share our learnings of directly engaging with farmers. So we work with around 200,000 farmers across multiple states and geographies in the country. My colleagues will share some of the learnings in the sessions that will happen. And we hope it informs the pathway for scaling up soil health practices across the country. I would also take a moment to acknowledge the 4 per 1,000 initiative, which is instrumental in bringing various kind of collaborations together. And I hope such platforms will further align and synergize our efforts. So thank you, everyone. And I hope that we can work together to create more impact for the farmers, for community, and for the overall a healthy planet. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your work. Thank you very much for the wish that you push forward, and thank you very much for your support for this conference. So now I would like to call as the last speaker. Well, I will be the last speaker, but as a previous last speaker, I don't know how you say it in English, antépénultième in French, I don't know how to say it. Mr. Anil Kumar, founder and CEO of Samunnati Financial Intermediation and Service Private Limited, India. So you have the floor.
Morning, everyone. So the audience after Daji's leaving is like the depleted soil, right? The floor was full. And then, you know, this is the core group, I would say, the people who are supposed to be working on this. Samunnati represents the practice side of such initiatives. Every initiative, as you know, has 2 dimensions in the spectrum. One is the theory side, what to do, why, how, and the practical side of taking all of this on the ground and making people make those changes, adapt. And while thinking about how do we make it happen, the banker in me gave a small small framework, I would say, in terms of how do you relate the soil health to a business dimension. All of us know, whenever you talk of business, the fundamental strength of the business comes from the capital that the business has, what is referred to as the net worth. Unless a business enterprise has a positive net worth and you are not loss-making, you are not considered to be a viable proposition to not only exist, but also sustain in the long run. So whenever bankers underwrite debt proposals, proposals for loans, they look at entities from this net worth perspective. Do you have the net worth or not? Is your net worth positive or negative? If the net worth is negative, you may have branches, you may have people, you may have operations, you may have an enterprise, you may have the demand, you may have confirmed orders. You are still considered to be a risky enterprise to lend to. So if you apply the same analogy to agriculture and the farmer, soil and quality of soil represents the net worth of both the agriculture and the farmers. Unless the soil is viable, in other words, has the positive net worth, no amount of other efforts, other frills, and other interventions that work towards increasing the productivity or increasing the yield and increasing the market linkages would be viable. So I'm glad Samunnati is associated with this initiative of preserving and increasing the net worth of the farmers and the farming as an activity. As an enterprise, Samunnati exists to make markets work for smallholder farmers. Work for smallholder farmers is the key, the for, because markets have been working off the smallholder farmers. And in reaching or pursuing our vision of making markets work for smallholder farmers, we engage in the entire agri-value chain with a principal tool of providing working capital structures, providing that lubricant, providing that glue, which is money, which is finance. And we work with collectives on one side and enterprises on the other side. And we have a sizable reach of about 5,500 collectives, which in turn have a membership base of about 8 million smallholder farmers. Now, interventions like this, when converted into viable proposition that can be deployed on the ground, Samunnati can be a partner to take these things on the ground to all these 5,500 collectives and the 8 million smallholder farmers. That's the potential, ladies and gentlemen, that we have to take this. But whenever you touch the farmer, you have to look at three dimensions, the 3 A's that I refer to. One is the awareness. What is this intervention about? Second one is accessibility. Okay, now that I'm aware of what this intervention is, how do I access this intervention from an execution perspective? The third one, from a farmer perspective, is most important one, the affordability. You may have awareness, you may have the access to the intervention, but if this intervention is not going to add that little extra income in the farmer's hands today, nothing is going to happen. Nothing is going to happen. So is there a way to convert all these interventions into viable propositions that can add additional income to the farmers in their hands today? Last point, morning I was having breakfast with KK talking about biochar of increasing the carbon content in the soil. And one significant insight for me in that conversation was that this particular intervention, unlike afforestation, which takes few years to fructify and give additional income to the farmer, we are talking of a couple of months. Those are the kind of interventions that are affordable to be deployed on the ground for a sustainable impact. So Samunnati is happy to be associated with 4P per 1,000. We are a member of 4P per 1,000 family, I would say. And we look forward working together shoulder to shoulder in taking all the theoretical models that you have once you give us a practical solution on the ground to make it happen. Looking forward to working together. Thank you for the opportunity and time.
Thank you very much. You're right. I used to say that 4 per meal is a network. I'm also saying that 4 per meal is a community, but you're right. 4 per meal is a family. And we are more protective with our member of our family. I agree with you. I will use that word. Thank you, sir, for that. Well, before giving you some thought about this and ending this inaugural session, I would like to just inform you that we receive also, but they were not able to come or send us a message, but we received some very encouraging and favorable message from the Honorable Murray Watt, Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries and Forestry, Minister of Emergency Management in Australia. And we receive also a very nice message from Honorable Damien O'Connor, Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Biosecurity, Minister for Land Information, Minister for Trade and Export Growth, Associate Minister of Transport in New Zealand. They were not able to come, they were not able to deliver a message through the video, but they said that they support the initiative because they are a member of the initiative, and they also support the organization of this conference. Right. Thank you for all our speakers for all those words. We are recording all what you said. We will need, because there were already some good ideas that we could put in the roadmap that will be finally the objective of this conference. Well, it's not only to gather, to socialize, to eat together, to make some presentation, and also to be able to have a document at the end. So I would like to conclude this inaugural session, and I will maybe repeat myself or repeat what Eva said already before, but it's important. I would like to extend my deep thanks to all the sponsors of this event, Dr. Reddy Foundation, Samunnati, French Minister of Agriculture and Food Sovereignty, International Crop Research Institute for the Semi-Arid Tropics, ICRISAT, Foundation for Agriculture and Rurality in the World Farm, and Biosphere. And also to our partners of this event, ICAR, Trust for Advancement in Agriculture Science, TAAS, and the Alliance Bioversity International-CIAT. So this is the 3rd regional conference we have organized this year, which was quite some time headache, I should say, but well, that will be the last one, this one. We had Abidjan in West Africa, we had Helsinki for Northern Europe, and now Asia and the Pacific in Hyderabad, or more specifically in Kanash and Tivana, which is almost a state as a whole, but it's a paradise, it's part of the paradise, so it's important to be here. In the past, we organized African Regional Meeting in Johannesburg in October 2018, Asia Regional Meeting in Shiga in May 2019, as well as North America meeting online instead of in Montreal, Canada, because at that time, the COVID struck the planet and we were online in May 2020. Then the pandemic forced us to put the regional meeting on hold before resuming this year with those 3 meetings. This regional dimension of our work is essential to mobilize the resource closest to the field, who often share similar context and environment, to enable cross-fertilization and complementary exchanges of experience in the field, whether scientific, political, or entrepreneurial. We are here today to learn from each other, to add to our knowledge thing, to the action of others in the wider region, because Asia and the Pacific are 2 different continents with their own particularity, linked to climates, soil, people, and nature. Not forgetting culture, of course. I hope that these 3 days will help build bridges and synergy between players of the 2 regions, and that we will be able to include in a common roadmap the action that we want to share and implement in a coordinated and coherent way to restore soil health in the fight against climate change and food insecurity. With this event, we would like to boost agricultural soil carbon sequestration in Asia and the Pacific, well, and everywhere else in the planet, but concentrate on those 2 regions. We want to create a forum for sharing new scientist knowledge, help spark cooperation, build on traditional knowledge, and enable exchange between different actors who, in their own way and on different level, all promote the transition toward regenerative, productive, highly resilient agriculture. We, at the 4 per Mil initiative, can really see that the importance of the topic is coming more and more evident among all these different crises that we are facing: climate change, loss of biodiversity, desertification, and food insecurity. The message from this event are very important, and we all made them together. We will all make them together by actively participating to the program. We, the organizer of this event, will then gather all the main message from different stakeholders together and take them forward, for example, to our 4 per Mil day at COP28 meeting in Dubai at the end of this year. I know that you're already enjoying Kanash and Tivanam, and you will continue to enjoy it during the few days. So now, for the stakeholders that are in the room that wish to join the 4 per Mil initiative as a partner or member, there will be the possibility to sign the application form. So if you want to join, I know that there are already a Faculty of Food and Science and Technology that would like to, in Bangladesh, to join. So, sir, you will be welcome to sign this document on the table with Beatrice. So if some others, like Dr. Reddy's Foundation, if you want to join, or some others, not as individual, of course, but as organization, you can join. That will be the right.
Anybody?
Yes.
I can take a picture.
Yes, thank you. We can take a picture of this. Yes, no, it's okay.
So this side.
Thank you very much. Next bureau meeting will be 23rd of October, and I'm sure they will approve this this application. Okay, so now to end the morning and before lunch, I propose to you to have few keynotes. People that are very important for the soil community, and I'm talking about Professor Ratan Lal from the Ohio State University. So Professor Ratan Lal would have loved to come here because it's also his motherland, but it was not possible for him to come. So he sent us a video, which is quite long, I tell you, but this is Professor Ratan Lal.
I take this opportunity to thank the organizers for providing me an opportunity to attend this meeting virtually. Specifically, I want to thank Dr. Paul Lu. At the same time, I want to appreciate the contribution by the former Minister of Agriculture and Forestry of France, Mr. Stéphane Le Foll, for his leadership in 4 per 1,000. Specifically, I've been asked to talk about the importance of soils for the future of humanity, with specific focus on agriculture, climate change, food insecurity, and desertification. To begin with, however, it's a very good opportunity for me to congratulate and to compliment and commend the moon landing of the Chandrayaan-3 that brings pride and joy to 1.5 billion people and raises India's stature in science, engineering, innovation, and modernization. This is really very commendable task because India is now on a path of leading humanity on toward the peace, harmony, and symbiosis with nature. This is a historic event indeed. Another historic event of India is success in agriculture. From 1947 to 2023, while the population of India in 1947 was 330 million, food grain production was 15 million ton. In 2023, the population is 1.4 billion and the food grain production is 328 million ton. The factor of increase of population for this period was 4.25, and that for food production increase was 6.6. This is absolutely contrary to what Malthus had predicted in 1800. In fact, the potential for food grain production in India is even almost a double to what it's now. India could produce by 2050 as much as 550 million tons of grain. And hopefully it will be done with producing more from less. And this is the concept of green revolution that I like to discuss along with cattle per mill. India's green revolution has shown that while doomsayers expressed apprehension and pointed fingers, agricultural scientists ushered in the green revolution since mid-60s, saved hundreds from starvation, and made India a net food exporter nation. The application of green revolution technology has been a debatable issue, however, both from physical, biophysical, and social economic reason. But the problem is not with the technologies, but with the inappropriate and indiscriminate use of inputs. Consequently, the carbon footprint of agriculture is rather notable and not something which can be accepted. So, for example, soil degradation, water pollution and depletion, poor air quality, species extinction, and many others. Soil degradation, take for example, we have 64 million hectares of land affected by water erosion, another 9 by wind erosion, 14 million hectares of water logging, salinity affects 7 million hectares, soil acidity 16 million hectares, and many complex problems, 7 million hectares. Total land area, maximum maybe 147 million hectares. Some of the soil degradation problems that I'm going to talk about, like depletion of soil organic matter content, removal of topsoil for brick making, nutrient depletion, elemental imbalance, are not even listed in these categories of soil degradation. Therefore, the problem of soil and environmental degradation is more serious than even we can see and quantify. Take the example of organic matter content. The optimum range should be about 2.5 to 3.5% in the root zone. But most soils of agricultural ecosystem of India have soil organic matter content of less than 0.5%, where it should be 2.5 to 3%. And this is where the importance of the cattle per mill is very significant and timely. And I'm glad that it's being discussed in Hyderabad at this meeting. It's in this context that depleted and degraded soil, that 4 per thousand initiative is pertinent to promoting the adoption of land use and soil management practices which can create a positive soil and ecosystem carbon budget, so that soil and vegetation can sequester atmospheric carbon dioxide, restore soil health, and strengthen other ecosystem services. Soil health is critical to other ecosystem services, and carbon sequestration implies, like a bank account, how to improve the input more than what you withdraw from a bank. In terms of carbon as a currency, the input can be through biochar, compost, cover crop, root biomass, crop residue, conservation agriculture, many other practices. The withdrawal is happening because of erosion, leaching, decomposition. As long as we know the quantity of carbon being lost by decomposition, leaching, and erosion, so that we can balance it by input in such a way that input exceed the losses. This is what we call creating a positive soil carbon budget. Unfortunately, in most agricultural soils of India and many other parts of the world, the gains of carbon in soil are much less than the losses. Consequently, the soils are continuously being depleted. And soil being a living entity, and organic matter content being the food for living organism, depleted, degraded, and degraded soil have very strong loss of biodiversity. Soil organism cannot survive in a soil where the food, the crop residue, is burnt rather than returned back to the soil as a food for the micro and macroorganism. As a result of very serious depletion of soil organic matter content to less than 0.25% in many cases, soil health is also severely degraded. Soil health refers to a dynamic and biologically active property that is essential to sustain multiple ecosystem services, both for human well-being and nature conservancy. And one of the key factors of soil health is soil organic matter content, because it's the soil organic matter content that is critical to management of quality and quantity of water resources, mitigation, adaptation, stabilization of climate change, of food security in terms of quantity and quality, and of course, biodiversity above ground and below ground. Indeed, soil organic matter content is the heart of soil health. And it is this heart of soil health that we have to emphasize, because the depleted organic matter content makes soil unproductive. And whatever productivity happens, it's not of good quality. Potential rate of carbon sequestration in the context of 4 per thousand are low, but they are still acceptable. 4 per thousand is an aspirational goal. I'm not sure we can achieve it, but even if we can achieve 1 per thousand or 2 per thousand, we are making a good progress. In arid and semi-arid region of India, where the rainfall less than 500 millimeter, the rate of carbon sequestration can be less than 50 kilogram of carbon per hectare per year. As the moisture content increases in semi-arid region, the rate can be as much as 500 kilogram per hectare, and in humid and perhumid region, especially in the colder part of the Himalayan and southern mountainous region, the rate can be as much as 1,000 kilogram per hectare per year. Coastal region of India also have very high rate, especially for what we call blue carbon. Therefore, what are the possibility of adapting India's agriculture by 2030? Through no-till farming, what we call conservation agriculture, by promoting integrated nutrient management, such as biological nitrogen fixation, compost, green manure, farmyard manure, and these two practices and others are the one which will lead to positive soil carbon budget and a goal toward cattle per mill that we are discussing here in this meeting. We must avoid in-field burning of crop residue. We must replace traditional cooking fuel by modern fuel so that the cow dung and crop residue can be put back on the land as a compost. We must replace flood irrigation by drip sub-irrigation or drip sub-fertigation. We must restore degraded desertified soil. India is signatory to restore degraded soil by as much as 26 million hectares by 2030. And I think cattle per mill will be a good stop in that direction. To eliminate scalping of surface soil for brick making is very important. Taking 1 meter of topsoil for brick making should be avoided as much as possible. Of course, the idea to create rental facilities for seed drill so that conservation can be adopted very appropriately. Another approach to think about making agriculture a solution is through nature-positive agricultural practices. Nature-positive practices mean protecting, managing, and restoring soil health, recarbonizing the soil, such as cattle per mill, improving water quality and renewability, adopting negative emission farming. I must take a moment here to talk about zero emission farming. India is promoting zero emission farming. That is not good enough. I want to repeat, zero emission farming is not good enough. It has to be negative emission farming. And negative emission farming will be as much as, in the good condition, 10 metric ton of carbon being sequestered in biomass and soil and vegetation. That's negative emission farming, not zero. Zero emission is good for industry, such as Sony or computer industry or machinery production. Agriculture being a primary industry, our goal must be high. -10, megagram of carbon per hectare per year. That means carbon sink in crop, in root biomass, in trees and vegetation. And out of that 10 ton, even if 1 ton is sequestered on a permanent basis, we are making good progress. Please, no zero emission. Reducing input of chemical is very critical to that goal. Using biostimulants and organic amendments, promoting a biocircular economy, supporting the One Health concept, health of soil, plants, animal, people, ecosystem, and the planet is one and indivisible. This concept comes from Prasanna Upanishad. It says, Kshati Jal Pavak Gagan Samira Panch Tattva Adam Sharira. Is the translation of that which is One Health concept, health of soil, plants, animal, people, environment, and planet is one and indivisible. Using digital innovation, precision agriculture, and of course, rewarding farmers for ecosystem services by promoting education on soil and environment. This is the seed drill I was talking about. Farmers cannot afford it. Therefore, rental facilities for no-till seeder are very critical. These are my experiments in 1970, 1970, 53 years ago in Ibadan, Nigeria, when I was practicing is no-till possible. Unfortunately, translating this 50-year-old science into action has not happened. Why? Because we need policies which are pro-nature, pro-agriculture, pro-farmer. Those policies are needed in India more than anywhere else because we got 1.5 billion people. And we also want to be a role model for agriculture in developing countries. Therefore, this policy is very critical. It is a cover crop, a very thick cover of Mucuna utilis, velvet bean, can produce 20 tons of biomass in 3 to 4 months, and then it leaves a dead carpet of crop residue on its own, through which you can plant a crop by no-till or conservation tillage. India should have a 5-year state of India's soil health plan. Every 5 years, you provide quantitative data on the extent, severity, and rate of soil degradation by different processes, and assessment of the impact of restorative program, such as caterpillar mill on soil health on a 5-year basis. These records hopefully could have begun by baseline in 2020, but if it has not been done, hopefully sooner, and then every 5 years after that, providing information on what can be done. Deep-rooted leguminous cover crop, pigeon pea, such as, is a very important tool, sun hemp, and all these leguminous crop have, of course, nodules, rhizobia, which fix nitrogen, which can be a very strong contribution to carbon sequestration. Root biomass, a deep prolific root system going as deep as 1 to 2 meters. Vetiver grass, for example, kosh grass or khas grass, Tamil word khas or vetiver, is a very important mechanism to promote carbon sequestration in soil. But keeping in mind that removing crop residue is not an option. Burning crop residue is not an option. Here was an example of my own experiment we did in Nigeria. We set it up in 1972. We started removing crop residue deliberately every season and growing crops by no-till farming. And here is an example of what happened to soil 15 years after, 1987. The soil in the foreground where the residue is removed is practically dead, because we were not putting the crop residue as a food for earthworm, termites, centipede, millipede, microorganism, and yet we are putting chemical. Therefore, the soil died. A dead soil has no ability to even produce anything, even with inputs of fertilizer, improved varieties. So soil must be healthy. And the example of healthy soil is one in the back. Why that soil is healthy? Crop residue was returned to the soil and not taken away, not burnt, not removed, not graded. Because what the philosophy is, the residue is for the soil and the grains are for the people. Unfortunately, in India, that concept exists in our scriptures, but we are not adopting in practice in our field. And we must do that. Why? Because soil biota is the bio-engine of the earth, and this soil biota requires food. That crop residue is their food. And when that crop residue is burned, you know what you're doing? You're not only burning the food, you're also burning the living organism in it. Stop it. It cannot be continued. We must also think about carbon-based fertilization. If you build up the crop residue from 0.25% to 2.5%, then eventually the need for chemical fertilizer will decrease over time. Remember, I'm not saying zero, not a zero. There is no such thing as a zero budget agriculture. The law of return says whatever you take from soil must be returned to the same place in one form or the other. But improving soil health by carbon sequestration will decrease the need to return chemical fertilizer over time by improving the efficiency. Therefore, the slogan I would like to recommend for India is CNPK, not NPK, CNPK. That will promote regenerative agriculture. So what a model agriculture should look like: an improved plant varieties, which have a deep root system, very large harvest index, but at the same time, high biomass production, a plant that we can communicate through molecular-based signal, a plant which is grown with a no-till system and a cover crop mulch, a crop plant which is integrated with trees and livestock, and a crop grown in a soil which has improved its organic matter content, so it becomes disease suppressive soil because of high soil biodiversity, so that the need for inputs of pesticide has decreased over time. In such a situation, if you require additional water and nutrients, they must be applied directly to the plant roots when they are needed. And the absorption efficiency should be 70–80%, not 20 to 30%, which exists now. So we have a long way to go. And this is the way the agricultural model innovation look like. I'm talking about the policy issues, and one of the policy we think is carbon farming. What does carbon farming mean? Growing carbon in soil so it can produce more income for the farmer. Income producing commodity is carbon. And growing soil carbon as a farm commodity, so it can be not only bought or sold, but also farmer rewarded for ecosystem services. It's another crop. It's a new crop of the modern era, which can bring income for farmer. And why should farmer be paid? Because when you adopt a modern technology, including conservation agriculture, when you change from conventional to conservation, for the first 3 to 5 years, there is either a negative response sometime or no response. It is this period of 3 to 5 years where farmers should be particularly encouraged to keep going, even though you are getting losses, and the society will compensate you through payment for ecosystem services. And the amount of payment I am recommending is probably somewhere about 2,000 rupees per acre per year. But the prices are changing so rapidly that some people think that even 10,000 rupees per acre per year may not be adequate. So this is a site-specific decision that the scientific community should make, how much should be paid to farmer, which is fair, which is just, that's equitable, and paid them in a transparent and equitable way. If I were to decide a future plan for agriculture on the basis of producing more from less, reducing land area under agriculture, reducing amount of water being consumed, reducing the input of fertilizer, my suggested timetable for your consideration would be, for example, in 2017, the irrigated area of 70 million hectare was using 200 kilometer cube of water. This kilometer cube of water should be decreased by converting from flood irrigation, furrow irrigation to drip irrigation to 75 million hectare, but only 150 kilometer cube of water, 80 million hectare with only 100 kilometer cube of water, and 100 million hectare by 2100 by only 75 kilometer cube of water. So the area is increased, but water use is decreased because we are using use efficiency. Same argument applies to fertilizer. We use 30 million tons of fertilizer now. The use efficiency is low. Sometimes I'm told it's as low as 30%. If we improve the efficiency, the fertilizer use can be decreased to 25 million ton by 2030 to 20 million ton by 2050, and maybe only half as much as we know using at present by 2100. This is producing more from less. The same thing applies to in-field burning of crop residue. We have been burning 100 million tons of residue. Stop it. No burning from 2030 onward. Pesticide use, if the soil are disease suppressive, healthy soil, the pesticide use now is 56,000 tons per year. It could be decreased to no more than 1/5 of that amount, 10 million ton by 2100. The cereal yield, however, it is only about 2.2, 2.3 tons per acre per hectare now, and it could be increased to as much as 4 metric ton per hectare by 2100 or before. And this is the concept of producing more from less. At the same time, the food losses, conservative estimate is 34%. I think for fresh vegetable and fruits is much more. It should be decreased immediately to no more than 10% by 2030 and no more than 5% in the future. Organic manure, which we use 200 million ton now, it should be progressively increased to about 500 million ton total by 2100. This is the idea of producing more from less by proper planning, by adopting conservation, regenerative agriculture, and by sequestering carbon to improve soil health. By so doing, our sustainable development goals, which are not on track at present to be achieved in 2030, they can still be achieved by 2030 because we have 7 more years to go. And hunger, climate action, life on land, and some other goals such as poverty and diseases and improve good health conditions, clean water supply, and renewable energy. Cooperation with the private sector is very critical, where the private sector, combining with policymaker, academician, can make policy which are pro-nature, pro-agriculture, and pro-farmers. And India should be a role model country in that part, because private sector can certainly promote nature-positive agriculture, increase access to inputs like seed drill, improve investment in agriculture, and of course, provide funding support for education. I think this is a time for developing a policy with regard to soil health, and that policy should be based on soil-centric approach, where you adopt conservation agriculture as a package, integrated pest management, nutrient management, drip sub-irrigation as a package, crop residue management as a mulch, cover crop, no burning, leaving it on the ground so soil is always covered, and growing cover crop and forages in the rotation. And this can be achieved through proper policy where the farmers are rewarded for strengthening ecosystem services and making agriculture a solution to climate change. I want to commend one more time Mr. Lafol for his leadership. He was the first one who used soil health and soil carbon at COP21 in Paris. And sir, we salute you for that. And I went personally to his office in Paris as the president of the then International Union of Soil Science to present to him the Distinguished Service Medal. You are the role model politician. We need more people like you. That is the solution. It is people like you who can help us adopt the mantra that healthy soil equal to healthy diet, equal to healthy people, equal to healthy ecosystem, equal to healthy planet. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you to Professor Lal for this video. Well, could have bid for presidential in India. I mean, it's just a new program for India in agriculture. Anyway, now we'll have some presentation on live. And I think we have the two local celebrity that will give us the opportunity to know more a little bit about what's going on. So first of all, I would like to welcome on the floor to Dr. Ananya Rao, Senior Scientist Forest by Heartfulness Institute, and also UNESCO, Mahatma Gandhi Institute of Education for Peace and Sustainable Development in India. You will present us, Ananya, the global level situation of soil health and the most promising development. So,
I'm ready.
You ready?
Yeah.
You want to stay there?
This should be good.
Should be okay? We can see you?
Me?
Okay. You will be a flower among another flower. Okay, the floor is yours.
How do I move next, Beatrice? Okay, before that, yeah, I'll tell you next then. Yes, previous slide, please. So I really have to say that it's an honor to actually present after Professor Ratan Lal, who in fact I have referred to widely through my PhD. It would have been even better if he was here in person, but maybe next time. Yeah. And I know I have only 10 minutes, I'll stick to the time. But can I take 20 seconds now to have your attention? And could you please put your phones away and gently close your eyes? Take a deep breath and let go slowly. Bring your attention back to this conference room. Bring your attention back to the moment. Relax your entire body, letting go of any stress that you find there. Have an intention to be present in the moment throughout this conference. And let us all ponder over the thought as to why we are present at this 4 per 1000 conference. With this thought, gently open your eyes. Next slide, please. So I will be continuing from where Professor Ratan Lal has talked so much in detail about. We are here for the soil health, but what is really soil health? What are the key factors that contribute to soil health? It's of course the soil texture, the pH in the soil, the organic matter content, which again was touched upon, nutrient content, nutrient apart from the carbon, microbial activity, soil erosion, compaction, contamination, the biodiversity of that area, and the land use practices. These are some of the key factors. For the benefit of the people from a non-soil science background, I'm going to relate how all of these, most of these key factors are related to soil carbon. How are they related? We have organic matter, as Ratan Lal sir already showed you, mainly consists of the carbon, soil carbon. Nutrient retention happens better when the carbon in the soil stabilizes the soil. So it holds the other nutrients. Microbial activity enhances the carbon in the soil. Also, when there is more carbon, we have more microbial activity in the soil. Water retention, like I said, because the soil is stabilized, water retention is better, making it stress resilience also. It stays better in a drought-like situation during extreme temperatures, the soil does better. pH buffering, many of us might not know here that carbon in fact balances the pH of the soil by making it non-acidic. Soil biodiversity, of course, increases. Next slide, please. So when we are talking about soil carbon in the global carbon cycle, where does it all fit in? The markers, the whatever is in red, are the fluxes. These will be terms that will be used throughout the conference, I'm sure. So the fluxes means the interaction of this carbon with other components, the atmosphere, soil, and the oceans. And the ones in blue are the stocks or the reservoirs of the carbon. So if you look at it, what is marked in red, the top part of the soil that we have holds about 1,500 to 2,400 petagrams of carbon. That is, you can say billions of tons of carbon. And that is in fact much more than what the ocean or the top layer of the ocean or the atmosphere holds. Next slide, please. So 2 meters of the soil can hold up to 2,400 petagrams of carbon. Next slide, please. So the top, so again, emphasizing that it holds twice the amount of carbon that is present in the atmosphere, 3 times the amount of carbon stored in the vegetation itself. Vegetation and the soil form the maximum amount of storage of carbon. And the oceans, the deep ocean being the largest reservoirs of 38,000, but they interact with the other 2 components very minimally. So this is one major part why we are focusing on the soil carbon, of course. But another thing, the fluxes that I was mentioning about, the interaction that happens, land, in fact, has the ability to take up 29%. That is the flux between the atmosphere to the land can be about 29% of the carbon that is in the atmosphere is sequestered by the land annually. That's the flux, petagram of carbon per year. Yeah. And this makes it one of the key indicators for the all environmental issues and also indicator for land degradation, climate change, and all of that. It is no wonder we are here talking about the soil and soil carbon. Next slide, please. So what is really happening? Of course, we all know that climate change is doing a lot. Anthropocene, we are in the Anthropocene. We have done a lot to change this. The diagram that I just showed you, the balanced equated state is disturbed by our anthropogenic activities. And this has led to poorer and poorer soil. The food production, which is totally dependent on soil health, is disturbed. And further climate change is going to make things even worse. So next, please. This map here, it's a study from Zomer et al. 2017, which shows you croplands from across the world. And if you see, the yellow and light yellow parts have soil organic carbon. The units are in tons of carbon per hectare. Most of the cropping areas across the world are in the yellow zones. And that is 0 to 25 tons of carbon per hectare, 25 to 50. The Indian region, since we have quite a few Indians here right now, croppable area has such low amount of carbon. It's sad, but then yeah, across, if you look at the US, Daji was mentioning this yesterday, that the area of the US which is not taken up by agriculture still has very wonderful soil. It's in the greener section. And some part of Northern Europe also has that soil. Next, please. So this now is a study which has looked at the soil organic carbon changes, the fluxes, the change from 2005 to 2015. So a 10-year period, how the soil organic carbon across the world has changed. If you look at it, most of it is in gray. Gray, in fact, means no changes. But if you look more closely, across the area, there are some light dots of yellow, orange, red. What are these yellow, orange, red dots? That means that the soil organic carbon in this area over a period of 10 years has decreased. Decreased by how much? Minus 500 tons of carbon per kilometer square per year. Next slide. Going closer to the Asian region, we have, you can see it when you zoom in, you see that the yellow regions and the red regions are much more clearer. That means to indicate that the soil organic carbon has in fact decreased in a matter of 10 years. Next. So looking at the same data, country-wise also, everything that is green and red is in fact a decrease in the carbon. Only a few countries in Africa, South America have a little bit of an increase during the same time period of 10 years. Next. If they were to increase the carbon sequestration, over the next 10 years, 20 years. This is a 20-year scenario. What models are used for is exactly this. We see that we can have an increase in the carbon that is sequestered in the soil. The soil still has the capacity to sequester more carbon if we have the right kind of interventions that take place. Next, please. So my study over the Indian region also involving 24 different models, climate model data, fed to a dynamic vegetation model, also shows that soil organic carbon over the region is not changing much, but percentage-wise, next slide, please. Yeah, so if you look at it, the baseline is of 1980 to 2010, a 30-year period. And the black line is the model ensemble, 24 model ensemble, which basically goes on to show that there can be an increase of 4% of soil organic carbon over the entire Indian region if there are no interventions from human beings. Next one. So this is a very interesting infographic that I found, which talks about, we always think, okay, what are the interventions that are gonna help get the soil carbon sequestered better? So if you look at this, the forest land is on the left, right here. And if you're moving from, say, a cropland to the forest land use change, if the cropland is converted into a forest, that has the maximum amount of increase in the soil carbon, 57%. A decrease happens if the cropland is converted into, if the grassland is converted into a cropland to grassland also increases the soil carbon. So anything to do with afforestation, in fact, increases the soil carbon of the area. Next, please. Next. I'm maintaining the time. Yeah. So, of course, these mechanisms have been dealt with more in detail and also will be dealt with later in the coming presentations. How do we increase the soil health? Cover cropping, reduce tillage, crop residue management, organic amendments, putting organic matter, manure, bakri khad here in this region into the soil, agroforestry, biochar, which will be dealt with more in detail through this coming days, perennial crops, crop diversification, grazing management. We have restoration of degraded lands. One such example is where we are right now, which again will be talked by the next presentations, and increasing the soil microbial content as well. It's okay, next one. So these are the mechanisms. And of course, the policies that are already in place to deal with soil health. We have the carbon farming that Ratan Lal professor talked about. And then we have regenerative agriculture policies, soil carbon accounting, soil health standards that are put across in some regions saying that you have to adhere to these soil health conditions, and incentives are given to that as well. Next, please. And another big, of course, initiative is the 4 per 1,000, why we are here. We know of 4 per 1,000, we have all heard, but I mean, just a show of hands, it's not a class. But I just want to know how many of you really know what this 4 per 1,000 means. Not bad, quite many of us. But just introduction of this term, 4 per 1,000, getting it out there into the people makes so much of a difference, I feel, in terms of letting them know what it is all about. So 4 per 1,000, in fact, means 0.4% increase in the soil carbon stocks every year in the 40 centimeter of the soil has the capacity to offset the anthropogenic emissions into the atmosphere. This is what 4 per 1,000 represents. And that itself, I mean, the network is doing great. It has brought us all here to this single platform. But at the same time, just getting these 3 words out into the public is enough to generate awareness on something so important. Next, please. So we have such big initiatives, not just 4 per 1,000, we have the greening that's happening on the ground, massive, large-scale green wall project across the African continent. The desertification is stopped by this. There are so many countries. Next slide. There are about 12 countries, I think, that's joined together in this effort of greening. The green wall is being created. People are coming together, understanding the need for doing something, and work has already begun. Next one. We also have different, the traditional practices integrated with modern technology, which is helping land across the world get into a better shape. This is one such example of lunar landscaping where water is stored. This is done majorly in Niger area, and the water is stored. Prevention of the leaching and soil erosion also takes place with this kind of a landscaping. So one more example that again will be talked by the coming speakers, but is where we are right now. This is also the place where small drops of changes are happening. So the greening initiative by forests, by Heartfulness Institute's greening initiative is taking up small scale, large scale projects across the country and across the world to make a difference for the soil health. And these kind of small initiatives also play a big role, like the poem by Julia Carney goes, little drops of water, little grains of sand make the mighty ocean and the pleasant land. The second part of it is another thing. We all know of whatever I've talked about right now, most of us might be knowing, but really the governments know about it, the big players know about it. Why is nothing happening on the scale that it has to happen? What is stopping us from doing things necessary for it? Next slide. I work with UNESCO right now, and I work on climate change education, and they say it is the behavioral change that needs to be addressed. So UNESCO, in fact, has come up with a Kiss Me framework, named very nicely, and it's attractive. So the Kiss Me framework looks at you need to develop the competencies of kindness, interpersonal relationship, self-regulation, mental focus, and empathy. If you are focusing on these 5 competencies for yourself, for your organization, for your state, for your country, then there can be a small behavioral change that comes about, which can then impact a larger scale change. But how do we get to this? Now comes the essence of why we are here. Next, please. Through the heartfulness meditation, that's one part of it. Daji talks of the thought pollution that is at the base of all pollution, and addressing this thought pollution, in fact, has to be SDG 0. We are proposing that to, in fact, look at how we can change ourselves so that the world around us changes. Yeah, I'll leave you with these thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ananya, for all the presentation, your seriousness, the respect of the time, and the nice thought that you bring to us. So before giving the floor to Ramakanta, your father, I will invite you to watch
everybody. Thank you very much.
A small video that we received from Mr. Marco Angelini, data scientist in soil information, Global Soil Partnership Secretariat, GSP, hosted by FAO, of course, on the importance of soil and soil health in Asia.
Much to the organizer for this opportunity to show this presentation. I am Marcos Angelini from the FAO, from the Global Soil Partnership, and I will show you this presentation about the capacity development program that we have. The Global Soil Partnership had been established in 2012 as a mechanism to develop a strong partnership and enhance collaboration between all stakeholders, with the common objective of improving the governance and promoting sustainable soil management at all levels. However, you cannot do sustainable soil management without information, without good information, updated information. So I particularly work in a team called Soil Information and Data, where we help members countries to update the soil databases and to produce maps, mainly using digital soil mapping techniques. So to help the countries and to promote the tools and to build the capacities. We have been working through many training workshops under different initiatives. So this is from the last six, 7 years. So we have reached a lot of national experts from many countries. In Asia, in particular, we have been working with AFASI. AFASI is the Asian Food and Agriculture Cooperation Initiative from the Rural Development Administration of Korea, where they found a project that we call AFASI Sul Project, with 14, now it is 14 member countries that you see in yellow here in this map, where we have target to produce soil information at national level. So we train the different countries to update the information they have or to produce the first map ever in their countries. One of the most successful products was the Soil Atlas of Asia, that has been done with the Joint Research Center of the European Union. And among other information, you can see for example, the soil organic carbon map and the soil organic carbon sequestration maps as well. So we teach the country how to produce soil property maps using digital soil mapping. The Soil Atlas has been launched in 2023, this year in July. Has been a great, in my view, it has been a great success because it has, all the countries have been working the last 4 years to update all the information for the region, not only for their countries. Another product was these video courses where we teach mainly digital soil mapping. So these courses are free for everybody. So they are a compendium of initials 9 videos where anybody can learn how to apply digital soil mapping using their own data or using the data that you can download for these tutorials. We also work with the countries to update the databases. So we were able to produce a regional database with more than 70,000 sampling sites, some of them topsoil samples, some of them are profile data. And with this information, we were able to not only to improve the national data, but also to produce some maps for some of the countries that had a few points. We were able to produce maps for different soil properties for the region, improving sometimes the information at national level, depending on the amount of data that each country had. So some of this data has been used for neighbor countries to make better maps in this regard. But one of the most important product, I think, has been the network that we consolidated with a very good working spirit in the team, and that was very successful indeed. That AFASI extended the project for 3 more years, so we will be working during the next year until 2026 to produce the soil information system for each country, and also to produce soil health maps under this One Health approach. So these are the new challenges that we have for this network. So I'm very happy with the collaboration with all these people. So And I think that that could be an example of how to collaborate in the region. Thank you very much for also on behalf of my colleagues at GSP. If you have any comment or you want to contact me, you can do it at this email. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Before giving the floor to Ramakanta, I think we'll watch a small video that it's linked directly to the presentation. It's only 2 minutes, and then after, we'll yield the floor to you, Ramakanta. So welcome back. So it was not too long. It's important. This cooperation with FAO is important because FAO is member of the 4 per Mil initiative, and the 4 per Mil initiative is a partner of the Global Soil Partnership. So when we invited permanently the chair of the ITPS, Intergovernmental Panel on Soil, to be part of the STC, Scientific and Technical Committee of the 4 per Mil. So the relations are close, and we need to work together. Energy and money are scarce, so we need to bring them together. So now, last but not least, sorry, my friend, Dr. Ramakanta. So thank you very much for giving this keynote speech. And you are former Principal Chief Conservator of Forest India Forest Services and Forest by Heartfulness, leader of the Heartfulness Green Initiative, Heartfulness Institute India. You will present us the success that you reach in Ghana. So please have the floor.
Thank you. That music also did good to us. I respected Dr. Paul Lu, Ria Riva, and the team from 4 per 1000. Honorable Sakiasi Ditoka, Minister for Rural Development, Maritime Development and Disaster Management, High Commissioner Kamlesh S. Prakashji from Fiji and the team, and all the respected dignitaries, invitees, ladies and gentlemen. A pleasure and a privilege to showcase what has been done at Kana Shantivanam. Next, please. Just a few years ago, 6 years ago, This was the kind of a land we were here. Hardly any tree. Soil is one of the drought-prone area of India. Porous soil. It rains today, the next day, no sign of it having rained. But in the summers, if you want to dig 6 inches deep, it takes humongous effort. Next, please. Next slide, please. And we started off our greening efforts in this kind of a degraded agricultural fallow land. Next, please. The first thing that we did whenever it rained, we could expect Daji with an umbrella to go and find out how the water flows. First thing we did was, we should give the entire credit to him, personally saw how the water goes. We have developed ponds, 7 of them. Every drop of rain that falls here is harvested. The beautiful roads have a gentle slant. Every 30 feet, if you observe, there is a hole, and that connects to a pipe, and that goes to one pond, gets filled, goes to another, the 7th, it goes out. Thus, the remarkable rainwater harvestment efforts were done here. Absolute scarcity of water. It may appear funny, but we don't charge anything for meditation and never made any request, please pay money. No, never. Daji requested all of us, when you come here in large congregations, bring some water with you. That was the kind of a paucity in water. 1,000 feet groundwater. In that scenario, these measures help the grading. Next, please. Next, please. And greening with a difference. One of the profound statements of Upanishads is Annam Brahmeti Vijijnasava. Food is God. And this ancient Indian culture always talked about growing more and more food and be generous with giving food to others. Atithi Devo Bhavaha. The guest is verily the God. Take care. I hope you are all fed well. Okay, food. Thank you. Next, please. Anything, okay, some principles we adopted here. What do you grow? People say grow more trees. What to grow? Where to grow? It isn't wise to grow wheat in Kerala and then paddy in Punjab, but that's what, when it comes to tree growing, we hardly know expert. The knowledge itself doesn't exist, even in the internet. We did something very different. First principle is grow food plants. Whatever we eat, the birds, the bees, the butterflies somehow manage to derive benefit from those plants. And then food is very important. The most of India, royal palm is not from India. Any place, any 5-star hotel, any big campus, you have hundreds, sometimes thousands of royal palms. It doesn't give you anything. We are the one, the Kalpavruksha, the coconut trees in the median welcomes us in this campus. First is we grew, food forests, millet farms, vegetable gardens, garden of edible wild fruits, medicinal garden, unique clusters of trees. Next, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. We also have a very huge nursery. 120 acres are dedicated for 323 species of wild plants. Next, please. In the other part of Hyderabad, there was a road widening project happening. A large number of trees were marked for felling. And Daji said, bring them all here. I have a partner, one Mr. Brother Sarvanan. Without mentioning, I will not be able to sleep well. You know, a person with a green thumb, remarkable survival ability. 400 trees initially we got from Tumkunta part of Hyderabad. And then one farmer wanted to cut off, next slide please, all the coconut plants in Tamil Nadu. And because there's absolute scarcity of water, 10 to, next please, next slide. 10 to 12-year-old coconut plants were brought here. And next please. Next. Yeah, that is the comfort zone, dome that you hear. You just go back, you wouldn't even recognize the area. They all survived. You know, not one coconut tree died. 12 to 13 years, some plants. Next, please. And another very important, we have people meditating in 160 odd countries. You know, people from all across the globe came and then helped us in our greening initiative. Next, please. Next, please. Next, please. Next, please. Next, please. Each one, teach one to plant one. A slogan Daji came out with. Next, please. Next, please. Next, please. Next. Next, please. Yeah. Next, please. Greening with a difference. Next, please. What should you do? Any plant that we grow should have an ecological value. For the bees, the birds, the butterflies, they should have food. Food value, medicinal value, socio-cultural value, educational value, spiritual value, and intrinsic value. What is this intrinsic value? There is one Gali Buruga, a tree found in Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu border area, just about 200, and hardly of any use for us. But then every species on earth has a right to existence. Bring such plants here. We did that. Next, please. And initial effort when Daji was away in 2016, we grew plants which are typical to Deccan Plateau. Very hardy plants, but very useful plants. Indian frankincense, Indian heartwood, Indian satinwood, red sanders we grew. Next, please. Next, please. Yeah. Then when Daji came in the year 2017, he called us and told me, we should have a rainforest here. I have 30 odd years in Indian Forest Service, and I come from dense forests of the Western Ghats near Agumbe. Heaviest rainfall happens there. Immediately I said, oh, so that is not going to happen. Not here, sir. It's difficult. He didn't say anything. After 4 or 5 days, he comes and says, Ramakant, we should have an Amazon forest here. Then I said, Amazon forest, sir, wouldn't happen here. I'll give you huge trees, big trees. There will be some leaf fall, maybe for a month or so. I'll get trees, get you trees from moist deciduous forest as good. Didn't say anything. After some 4, 5, 6 days again, he says, you know, we should have a rainforest here. as if he never had a conversation with me. He doesn't ever think even that he's a guru, but then I know who he is for me. So 3 times he says what to do. We all know what a rainforest is. There are trees which can go up to 150 feet tall, 180 feet tall, and they spread their branches. Less than 1% of sunlight reaches the ground. So most of these plant species are never exposed to the direct sunlight in their life cycle. And says, I used to be head of a forest academy. I had my shishyas in the very prominent place. I phoned up truckloads of these delicate plants I gathered on a very sunny day. The Hyderabad can be blazing hot Hyderabad. We had a World Environment Day and we planted it, blazing hot this thing, and all the plants we planted. I never expected one plant to survive. I just did what he wanted me to do. And that day, incidentally, it poured, it rained. Then we came out with a large number of, the youngsters call it as hacks. No one has done it. You have rainforest in Kew Garden, you have rainforest in America, but then they have massive walls made of, sand, cement, steel, whatever. We, in this open air, one factor which many people do not even realize, you go outside of this campus, because of the trees, you don't feel it. Gushing winds, dry winds, they, sweep through this, used to sweep through this area. And okay, won't survive, doesn't matter, I did my best. But we evolved hacks. We emulated a typical rainforest. We have some swathes of rainforest here. Next, please. Okay, next, please. Yeah, and they survived. A lot of things happened. 10 minutes is too small a time to tell something, but quickly I'll say that one thing is porous soil. Daji came out with a solution. All the nutrients and the water goes to Patala. What shall we do? What shall we do? Then he came out with a solution. Black soil, 6 inches. We dig meter cube pits, 6 inches of black soil to hold the moisture. We got French technology, polyter, some white granules swell 100 times when you add water, slowly give water to the plants. Then he came out with biochar, activated biochar. In my entire career, in my life, I have never seen this kind of a healthy trees and this kind of an incremental growth that you see here. Credit goes to this kind of a hacks. Another thing we did is, Asterisk Comics, if you have read it, the druid drops a seed and out comes a tree. There is one tree called Sesbania grandiflora, Agastya. We put 4 of them, and in the middle of them, these delicate plants. They gave the microclimate. Then they also fixed nitrogen. I had personal problem and I had to cut these plants when our rainforest species become big. But then ultimately Daji doesn't want to cut anything, but then we had to harvest it because otherwise they would have suppressed the plants. So we could manage the species evolved to grow in dark, damp, and humid areas. We have them also here. Next, please. And then the kind of a biodiversity, mega biodiversity country. You go to Kerala, there is a species of jamun, Syzygium travancoricum, less than 40 trees in the wild, critically endangered. I had the privilege of eating a fruit, sweet and sour, wonderful, proven anti-diabetic, 40. We have more than 40 of them here. There is a mohua found only in Kerala and nowhere else, Maduka borderloni. Okay, recently they discovered that in Karnataka. A few, less than 100 trees, critically endangered. Flowers are edible, fruits are edible, seeds give a fat without processing edible, less than 100. We have them here. There is another mohua, only found in one taluk of Karnataka, nowhere else on planet Earth, 72 standing trees, Maduka ignis. insignis. We have that here. Next, please. And there is a jamun you found only in Tirupati, Tirumala hills of Andhra Pradesh, Syzygium alternifolium, and nowhere else on planet Earth. We have them here, doing well. Next, please. Next, please. Agar. So we have three places in India which are, our rainforests. Rainforest is tropical, moist, tropical, wet evergreen forest. Okay. Western Ghats, the Andaman group of islands, Nicobar group of islands, and then Eastern Himalaya. This is one of the critically endangered precious tree species from Eastern Himalaya. Next, please. All these photographs from here. Next, please. Next, please. And this is what we have. Not in my beginning of my career. For some reasons, every evening I used to have my drink, and then I gave up. I started meditating. Mysteriously, things that is not wanted in me went away. I became one of the reading forest officers of this country. I was thinking, may not be true, but I was thinking. And it took me quite some time to find out why Daji wanted a rainforest here. It took me time. Rainforest is, of course, beautiful, evergreen. Round the seasons, you find green plants. More importantly, as most of us know, rainforests are the most species-rich terrestrial ecosystems on Earth. When you bring in hundreds and hundreds of species of these plants, you will also be bringing very many plants which are on the brink of extinction, which are threatened with extinction. Because we have this kind of a space of rainforest, this place has become verily a Noah's Ark. Some of the raremost plants of India, which also happen to be some of the raremost plants of planet Earth, are thriving here. Thank you. Next, please. Okay, biochar I spoke about. There is something for the Western audience you may not know. We call it Jivamruta Panchagavya. And then what we did it here is take it to, this is from the waste from the cattle. We don't actually call it waste. We have a very respectable term for that. And we make a Jivamruta, something really, a potion. This potion in Kana Shantiman, Daji made it as a magic potion. He added few more things, dahi, that yogurt, and jaggery, 11 days of fermentation. One of the preceptors, who is a big agro industry person, who is the fourth biggest in the country, he made some bioculture. So we add that, dilute it, one mugful of it. After 60 odd years of existence, I realized that Earth only provides mechanical support. There is nothing like infertile soil. You can grow anything, almost anything. May not be all the things, but almost anything. Kana is a proof for that. Next, please. Next, please. Yeah. So we have a visitor. I could have given you many other species, birds from 18 species to 100 odd species. I'm showing this particular frog because it's a sentinel species and in touch with all the three elements, the land, water, and the air. And its presence in this semi-arid landscape is a wonderful, wonderful development. Next, please. Next, please. Yeah, and the Green Kana Forest by Heartfulness is shaping a new reality for the green cause. Next, please. Yeah, we are given 2,000 acres of land by the degraded, as you see, Madhya Pradesh forest land has been given to us, and Daji is now all set to, green the Aravalli mountain range. One last thing that I would like to say, that why a spiritual organization should, you should meditate. Why are you into it? So the basic most principle of the Heartfulness Institute is there is a material world and there is a vast universe within each one of us, a spiritual world. Don't neglect. Bringing balance to these two worlds is saintliness. So excellence in anything that we do, excellence in forestry, excellence in agriculture, excellence in wellness, do this place, we decided, we are making efforts to make it as a beacon of knowledge so that people come, get inspired. If you are very good, if you seek something more than what most people aspire, like an elevation within, an evolution within, please come. If not, then also there is facilities, free facility, a reasonably good facility, excellent facility, come and soak in the environment, go back. And there is no dogma, there is nothing to do with religion. We meditate to have an elevated consciousness. And Daji says that plants, trees help us in our effort of elevating our consciousness. The grow more, grow indigenous plants, save species from the brink of extinction is the message from Kana Shantivanam. And thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramakanta. Thank you for what you said, and thank you for what you did. Because this is very important.
My duty, just one thing. Yes, I told you, every day I read one or the other thing. This is one of the best books that you can ever have on this subject.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Paul. Thank you so much. This is my honest opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. And we should say to finish this morning with Ramakanta. When I came 1 year ago, I discovered Kana and I discovered all what he said about using biochar, the famous recipe about how to enrich the biochar and grow the food and the tree, sorry. And so we decided that we need to, thank you very much, to explain to the other people what's going on. And my first question to Ramakanta was, okay, all what you explained, where can we find that? Where can we learn from what you did? And he said, well, we were so busy doing it that nobody recorded it. So that is why we decided to welcome in Kana, with the help of Heartfulness Foundation, an internship. He spent 5 months here, Louis Dreyfus. And so he has not made his report yet. It's just a first version of his report where we need to work on it a little bit more. But as you have seen, Ramakanta has a lot of picture, movie, and what they did. And now we try to study how the soil, how the water, how the biodiversity evolved since the beginning of this project, and how this could be possible. So we will put that in the report. This report could also, with the picture, make a new book, and then it will be a good idea to share this book with the whole community. So thank you for Ramakanta. Thank you for welcoming Louis. And so we continue our collaboration. And thank you for your kind word around the book. Thank you.
Thank you.